Welcome everyone to the Pick Six Podcast. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday, Rudy. How are you?
I'm in St. Louis right now with the Gateway Arch behind me. I'm exhausted from a day of work training and travel, but we're chilling. And the fact that we're 7-0, I feel even better.
I know, my man. I felt like I couldn't wait. Once again, I thought after the Cal game, we had to do a reaction. And after this incredible game in Louisville, I felt like we needed to do another reaction, which I think this might become the standard. So I had to give you a call. I'm sorry you're having to do this on the road, but I'm excited to get into this game. The Hurricanes remain undefeated, 7-0, defeating Louisville 52-45. What a game. Rudy, where do we start? Where do you want to start? Because I feel like there are so many things we can discuss: offense, defense, special teams, the roller coaster that was, the play calling, the officiating. Where do we go, bro? Tell me where we're going.
Let's discuss the bad. Which one do you want to lead with? Because there was a lot of good and there was a lot of bad.
You know what? Let's do the good old fashioned sandwich technique. Let's start with a little good. We'll go into our critiques and then finish with the good.
A lot of good. Yeah. I guess with a little bit of good, hey, how about that Martinez running game and running and being physical? And, some of the stuff that we touched on Friday was how Miami could do both. They could score
Yeah.
quickly and they could just grind it out in that 6 minute plus drive to start the second half to go up then by two scores. That was the thing of beauty.
Yeah, I think I was texting you during the game and I was like, Damian Martinez is a Mack truck. I mean, there is just like once he gets going, it takes a little bit for him to get those juices flowing and for him to get the blood in them legs. But once it's flowing, it's impossible to stop him. I mean that drive where he's literally carrying half of the Louisville defense with 4 minutes left into the end zone. I mean, I couldn't believe. I mean, I was in utter shock. I was like, he's gonna get stopped at the 5. Then you got to the 4 and the 3. And I was like, oh no, he's going all the way in. It
Yeah.
was wild. And I think I think we kept saying in the midseason report coming into this game was going to tell us a lot about the Canes. It was going to tell us a lot about what the season was going to look like. And I think sticking with the run game, I think this is the recipe. I think you come out with Fletcher, the fresh legs, you run it fast. I think you get AJ Allen involved, which was amazing. I mean, he was what? He 5 for 31, averaging 6.2 yards a carry. Insanity. That's what basically Damian Martinez was coming in with from Oregon State. You give those two guys the fresh legs and the speed, and then in that second half, in that fourth quarter, you just give it to the Mack truck to run them over, to make some roadkill, and that's it. And I think if Miami wants to continue having success, I think that is their play. I think starting Damian Martinez, I think he's just a great finisher. I think he's like a great hammer, towards the end of the game.
It's great from a strength and conditioning standpoint because Miami has been fresher throughout the game through
Yeah.
fighting in the fourth. They seem to pull away in that regard, and they just don't get their foot off the gas offensively. One, because they can't.
Yeah.
Have to talk about that more. But hey, now we could say again to Miami fans, Damian Martinez slander, cut that out. No
Yeah.
more slander.
Yeah.
After
And
what that guy, we knew this was a game, and we needed him at some point. And this is when it came out.
yeah, and I think here's the thing. This is like an overarching thing I've been thinking about over the bye week and especially going into this game. And this you can extrapolate this throughout all of college football, right? Because I think we, as like a video game generation, and we've grown up playing Madden and NCAA football, we're used to these video game statistics and seeing stats or star ratings and expecting these players to have like video game stats. And life's not a video game, and what you're going to get from these players isn't going to be like what you would get in a simulation of a video game. So it's like, Damian Martinez comes to Miami and he's averaging 6.6 yards a carry. And we're thinking every time he gets the ball, he's going to run for 6 yards minimum, and that's just not how it works. It's these explosive plays combined with the steady runs that's going to average that 6 yards. And I think it's very easy to forget that because you just see he's supposed to get 6 yards a carry because that's what he's averaging. And you
Yeah.
forget that. And it's like, I think we have to remember I would say a vast majority of football is strategy, right? What plays do you call at what times? What plays set up the future plays? How do you get to the fourth quarter? Things like that. And I think Miami is finally kind of getting their bearings now with how to use some of these transfer portal. I mean, Sam Brown Jr. had an incredible game from in the wide receiver core. I thought the wide receiver core was amazing. I mean, I think 4 wide receivers had a touchdown this game. Insanity, insanity. I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The only guy video game numbers every single week is Cam Ward. He's
Yeah,
the
I
only
mean,
guy that
okay.
outside of the video reality. He's the only one. He's the
Listen,
exception.
it's not going to take long. Let's just get into it. Let's just talk about Cam fucking Ward. Sorry, part of my language. I'll try and beat that out if I can. But Cam Ward, come on, man. Like, I was telling a friend of mine when I was texting. He's like, man, Cam Ward is like the real deal. I go, Cam Ward is the LeBron James of college football. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not watching college football by now, or if you weren't watching college football last week or a couple of weeks ago, you're watching college football now because everyone's talking about him. He is the most electrifying player in the NCAA. I can't think of a better player. And what's weird is I would maybe say that as a homer in other years and just to tout our players, but there would be a little bit of like, apprehension to it because I'm like, I know this guy's really good. I can say it definitively. There is not a better player in college football than Cam Ward. He is not only magical, he is the quintessential player. He's got the swag, he's got the confidence, he's got the skill, he's got the grit. This guy does not take no for an answer. Failure is not an option to him. And I love that about him. I think he's just one of these guys. He's like a mix between, I would look at it like a Mamba and a LeBron, right? So he facilitates like LeBron, but he's got that killer instinct like Kobe, and he's
Yeah.
quiet. He's not going to brag. He's not going to like be in your face, but he's going to let you know like that. That one touchdown he threw, and then he just looks over at the Louisville sidelines and just like, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, test my gangsta. Let's go all day.
He has this version of, remember the old Kansas City Chiefs meme with Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, where it's like him scrambling on, F it, Tyreek's out there somewhere and just lofts it up. Yeah, that forward with Xavier Restrepo and Jacolby George, you go, they're down there somewhere and they're
Oh yeah.
open. So as soon as I get space, I'm just chucking this ball on a rope to
So
them. Like,
so
there's
it's
no
it's funny because like with TVD last year, like I remember like TVD would like throw it up and immediately my toes would curl, my stomach would drop to my feet, and I'd be like, oh my God, please someone catch this. Now it's like when when Cam steps back and I'm like, just throw it to an open portion of the field and let the receiver go to that spot. Like at that point, it's just that's all you need to do. It's
that's
just to
some of it too. Like if you know that Sam Brown touchdown, that beautifully drawn play where it's like this little stop and go. He's bracketed on the stop, thinking that he's gonna come for a quick curl, and then he just shoots the middle of the field. And as soon as he stopped, Cam already knew I'm just throwing this to a spot,
yep.
wide open middle of the field. He's just gonna run right underneath it, and he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Ward, 21 for 32, 319 yards. This is his 7th game. He's the only player in 4th. What happened?
4 touchdowns, 0 picks. The dude's unbelievable.
It's insane. Here's the craziest part: he's the first player to literally throw over 300 yards every one of his games, first 7 games. Like, let that sit in. The incredible history of quarterbacks we've had, which we were at one point, little youngins, we were known as quarterback U. Not so much in the last couple decades, but you think of all the incredible quarterbacks we've had come through our school. Cam in his first and only season is just obliterating stats, just completely obliterating stats. And I think, we as a fan base, and I'm trying not to keep looking ahead. And, we have FSU this week. It's the biggest week of the year. I'm trying not to look ahead because I really want to soak in the greatness that is Cam Ward. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a homer. I mean, rarely do you get this, like every team, every couple of years, maybe if they're lucky, gets a good player. It's maybe once a decade you get an elite or great player, and we have this unicorn that is Cam Ward. And it's just like, again, I knocking on wood, I don't want anything to happen. I just need this guy to stay healthy. And I just want, not even out of like greed or for our own school. I just want to see what this kid can do. I want to know what his upper limits are. I want to see, like, can he continue doing 300 plus yards every game? Like, is this the standard? Right?
Yeah, it almost felt like this could have been the game where he didn't get the 300 passing yards just
I thought
because
so too.
because not even for anything to do with the offense. It was just that the way that the game was being dictated, the way that Miami was performing, it didn't seem like they needed him to go for 300 yards. But lo and behold, when you give up 21 points in less than 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes, you have to go back to throwing the ball again. And thankfully, that guy to do it is Cam Ward for Miami.
Yeah, so let's not beat around the bush. Let's kind of get into some of the ugly, there's an old saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I love our defense. Love all those guys. They're incredible. They had a great year last year, I think. But they're bad. Our defense is bad. It's again, I'm not saying they're the worst human beings. I'm not saying it's the worst defense, but you go from having and being known for a stout defense last year, making, Lance Guidry making the adjustments last season, especially with issues in depth and injury, and having a better second half than you had a first half. Going into this season, I thought there would be, with an exponential growth in talent, there would be that extra step up. I thought we would take that Alabama, that Georgia step. Not to say that we would maybe have the same depth or talent pool, but that we would be able to compete, right? Like maybe we won't, get an interception every, drive, but that we would have more 3-and-outs. We would definitely not allow explosive plays, and that we would, keep low scoring games, and, games, 1 through 4 looked like that. But these last 3 games, and something tells me the rest of the year's pretty much probably going to be the same, minus this week. I mean, Florida State, we'll get to that later on this week, but yeah, they're giving up 30 plus points last 3 games. In my definition, that's not a good defense. What do you think?
Miami kind of looks like a 2010s Big 12 team. It looks like those. Oh,
That's literally we are. I mean, who knows? Like we're FSU's
you're
trying to
putting
get
up,
out, and we're just putting on the Big 12 like
yeah,
costume.
you're putting up 40, 50 points, and you're giving up 30 to 40, but you're still winning. It's just that, uh, yeah. The problem is, I think, myself included, I really wanted to believe that
Yeah,
you could fix some of these very fundamental issues of just really lining up and being in position, setting the edge, and they have not done that consistently. It's a very Jekyll and Hyde style of defense, or as we were talking about texting during the game, it's kind of Ricky Bobby style. It's like either first or you're either
yeah.
getting the driving all the way down the field and scoring for a touchdown. So the only thing about this week that I'll give the defense in terms of excuses is the 21-point run in like 2.5, 3 minutes, however time that was by Louisville, where Miami was already up, 2.5 scores, saying, "All right, this game's out of hand."
Yeah.
One was a mistake. Then there was an offensive turnover with Mark Fletcher that put you in a bad spot. That was
Okay,
kind
I gotta talk.
of
We gotta talk about this. So here's my
yeah.
thing. Okay, here's my thing. Love March Fletcher. Again, I told you needs to be our starting running back. So when I say this with love. Okay, but when a dude named Thor is coming after you, and the guy's got 150 pounds on you, just let him tackle you. Don't put your arm out there, because he's got another bear claw that's ready to swipe you and take you out. And it's like, when I saw
his
that,
Mjolnir,
I'm like,
his Mjolnir
his Mjolnir. He's
has
got his, yeah. I just am like, first I'm like looking, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, this guy's enormous. And then I look, and it's their number one DT, like it's their number one D
yeah.
tackle, and his name is Thor. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Why would you ever do that? Like, no offense, like Mark Fletcher's tiny compared to this guy. I'm like, why are you trying to stiff arm a bull? Like, it just,
He was definitely trying to do too much. Because if you notice, like he got like gain of one, and then he cut it back up to the middle
yep,
of the field, and cutting it back and trying to make something out of nothing is like that's one of those where just like when they talk about criticizing Cam Ward for stretching a play too long and trying to force the ball, that was him kind of stretching a run a little too far, and not like finding a hole and hitting it. It's just if you're dancing around that much, just go down and lift play for another day. And
yeah,
then the special mistake was terrible with the wind, and then the defense then gave up another drive after that. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
tough.
I'm wondering, Rudy. Do you think this team is trying to do too much? Because there's just certain plays, whether you're kind of you're kind of like bringing something up where we talked about hero ball being an issue during the VT and Cal game. I'm seeing it. I saw it in this Louisville game where guys were trying to extend plays, which I love. I love the tenacity. I actually wrote that down. I go, this team is tenacious. Like no matter what, they're not taking no for an answer. They're not going to lay down. Whether they're down by three scores or they're up by a score and a half, they're fighting. And I love watching, Damian Martinez run and then Inez Cooper literally pulling him another 3 or 4 yards. Like I love that, but do you think the team is trying to do a little too much where maybe a coach could be like, "Hey guys, just do what you do. Just do what you do."
So this is where the coach speak comes in because they probably get asked this. I haven't watched Mario Cristobal's presser today, where all three, the two coordinators and Mario Cristobal both spoke today. But I know they've spoken about this in the past this season in terms of finding what that fine balance is, where you don't want to take the playmaking ability away from a playmaker to say, "Hey, this is what you're going to do." Like Shannon Dawson said it a bunch of times with Cam Ward. He's going to do some things that I don't like, but you know what? He's effective all the time about it. And as long as he shakes it off and doesn't make the same mistake again, we're good.
Right.
But across the entire team, there are definitely moments where it's like realizing what's at stake in terms of what you need to either get and just not stretch yourself too thin. And then there's other moments where, yeah, there's going to be times where they're definitely doing a little too much. So you don't want to remove that heart from the player, but at the same
Exactly.
time, you don't them the opportunity to shoot themselves in the foot even more. So yeah, that's one of those where you're still nursing a lead. Yeah, it got cut into by the kick return. Just be safe. You can move the ball in anybody in the country. So don't try to do too much. You trying to do too much in this one play is going to cost you 3 plays down the road, or maybe you do break one.
Right. And that's kind of like my thing. Like there's like I felt like I learned so much from this team from this game, which I knew we would, which is, obviously our defense is not good. And that's okay. I mean, our D line is amazing. Like, thank God for our D line, because then our defense would be horrific if it wasn't for them. But our offense, and I can't even remember the last time minus 2002 saying this, but our defense is incredible. Like by far head and shoulders above. I would put our offense against anyone. And if our defense was averaging like holding teams to like maybe, and again, I'm talking not talking about the whole season. I'm talking like the last 3 games.
Yeah.
If the margin where we were only allowing maybe a 3 score, so like a 21 or a 24 a game, I would put us on the field with anyone. I literally would. I believe in
Yeah.
our offense enough to where I think we could. But the issue that comes with that is there's a lot of complementary things that happen in football, right? So if your run game isn't working, you have to rely on your passing game, right? And then if your passing game doesn't work, that gives you a shortened time on your offense, which puts a load on your defense, and vice versa. If your defense can't get off the field and get do a quick 3 and out, then your offense doesn't have time to get on the field. So there's a lot of complementary, like synergistic energy that goes on the football field, and so to me, it's like I feel like if we could kind of get the defense a little bit tighter, again, doesn't need to be perfect. I think we can literally hang with anyone. And my hope is that we can kind of understand who we are and that we have the ability to score like at will. Like I mean, would you say that's a bold statement to say we can score at will?
No,
No.
this is on best offense in the country, and it's one of the best offenses, if not the best offense by
Yeah.
sheer production
I
in the
mean,
Hurricanes history, which is
I yeah.
incredible to say.
Yeah, I mean, watching the games this weekend, watching Alabama, Tennessee, watching Georgia, Texas. I mean, I'm not trying to poo-poo anyone, and I'm not trying to, sound like a homer. But Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning, Jalen
Milrow, yeah. No,
Milrow,
none of them are
none of them. I would, and Nico, I wouldn't take any of those guys over Cam. Like, not even a split second. And not only that, I wouldn't even take their wide receiver core with them or their running backs. Like pound for pound, and I'm not just talking statistically. I just the eye test. We have the best offense in the country, and I know that sounds like because we're both grads. We love we're season tickles, but it's a fact, man. Like and this week. solidified that for me because don't get it twisted. Louisville has a good defense. Like they are not what their record says they are. And it sucks that, they've had some bad beats, the past couple weeks, but
Yeah.
that's a good team. And I mean, thankfully for us, they had some key injuries preseason and even going into this week. But I mean, that's a team that could have easily gotten back to Charlotte this year had they not had so many injuries. I firmly believe that. And again, when you have a dude named Thor on your team, I'm definitely like going to give you props for that because you're really good. And so this week I thought was a really great litmus test. It was a great little sampling of where we can go, and I think where we not. I don't think there needs to be. I don't think we're going to see tweaks. Do you? Or do you think there's going to be much change after this week?
There are grumblings that there might be a change at safety. We're like number 7. I thought it was Jaden Davis, but I guess his name is I forget his name, but they're thinking that they're trying to get more of Zaquan Patterson in the game. But something that I noticed from a couple of weeks ago is that he's great in man coverage, but he's not quite there with zone. So maybe if he develops and gets some more reps in terms of being more effective in zone coverage, he might be the new starting safety out of all of this. But the other thing that everyone's hoping for is for Damari Brown to be healthy so that he can go back and play because that's another key member of the secondary that this defense sorely needs because the one knock on this defense coming into the year is that secondary going to be
Secondary, yeah.
okay. We all got a little hopeful after the UF game, but since then, since really Virginia Tech and Cal, it's been an adventure. So it's only gonna continue.
Yeah, do you think the issues on defense, specifically in the secondary, and I wondered this because you and I like had different points of view, but we kind of agreed on the same thing. Do you think it's talent or do you think it's scheme? Because in my opinion, I'm not sure. Like there are certain plays, like the one where Kiko got faked out in the end zone where the tight end caught it from Louisville. That that's not talent. I think that's just like it's a thing. It just happens. You just
That was just off interference that they didn't call.
that's true.
That's what that was.
Um, but then there's other moments of the game where you watch and there are just massive holes or players just not in the right position. And I'm not sure if that's attributed more to scheme or to actual like player skill and talent. What do you think?
It's not quite skill, but it's also not quite scheme. It's the pre-snap preparation where it's an alignment issue, really for
Yeah.
the most part, because you're not lined up in the right place, then you're going to automatically take a bad angle because you're pursuing at the wrong place, being out of position. And something that look, Miami's haven't been like they have been secretive about this. They've mentioned some of their improvements they've been trying to work on is eye discipline, and if you watch part of that game with Kiko Maui Noah, that was part of the issue in a few of those plays where it's like if you're watching the quarterback, you're reading that play action movement, the RPO, you're going to be in the right position. But there are times where his back is turned, he's following somebody else's assignment instead of being where he needs to. And that's where the difference is between some of those plays. So that's part of its linebacker play, but a lot of that is defensive secondary being out of position. So
Yeah.
that's when they're open so quickly.
Yeah. There was a play where Isaac Brown had kind of boot ended out and then gotten into the end zone and Kiko like broke it up at the very last minute. And I was like that could have easily been a touchdown, like that was a mismatch. And like that's why I say again, like, is it scheme or is it talent? Because you can't have a guy like you can't have Kiko covering Isaac Brown. Like I love Kiko. He's fast, he's good, but that guy's one small and he's one of the fastest guys on that team. And you just I'm wondering, I'm not questioning Lance Guidry's talent or his coaching because I am not even in the stratosphere of being qualified to do that. But when I see these explosive plays, yes, some of them, their angles and approaches 100%. But then there's just other ones where I'm just like, why is that guy so open? Like,
Yeah.
and is it like a matter of like teams are just when they recognize we're in zone, they're checking down and they're switching the play up and they're finding the pockets, or vice versa if they see that we're in man and then they're just switching up the thing, or it just seems like a lot of plays for Miami's defense. Whereas in years past, we would be in the right spot, but we couldn't get tackles because we didn't know how to tackle. This year,
Yeah.
it feels like there are massive holes, like Swiss cheese. Like I was like joking with another friend. I was like, our secondary is just Swiss cheese. Like it's like you just have to find the right hole and throw it in that spot, and you're golden as another team. I think moving forward, our defense. I think people know that. and they're gonna test that water. They're gonna test those DBs all day, and I think we have to have a bend not break mentality. I think surrender the 21 points, 28 points. God, I hope not 35 points or 30 points a game, but you surrender a few touchdowns and things, and then you just rely on Cam to keep you in the game. Because again, can you think of another team that's going to stop us? I mean, I think Louisville's going to be our most stout defense. We're probably going to play till we play Clemson.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah,
Yeah, that 100. And going back to that linebacker running back matchup, that's where old Miami fans, well, not old Miami fans, but Miami fans of the past 15 years can all remember Sean Spence, C.J. Spiller, and that coverage mismatch that happened. And that wasn't even so much that Sean Spence didn't have the speed; he was just already on a bum hamstring. So watching him trying to limp up the field and catch this guy who clearly everyone knew where the ball was going infuriating back in the early 2010s. But anyway, back to this current team. Yeah, that Miami just needs to find a way to manufacture a couple more stops because thankfully this offense knows how to run, execute their plays to give the defense the most time to rest up, to prepare, to try to make adjustments. Because again, they're versatile. They can run as fast as they want and take advantage of situations where if the defense is clicking, absolutely, let's score as quickly as possible. Go out there, get a 3-and-out, turn the ball over to our offense again to do it. And when they're getting marched on, they know when to turn up the running game, grind out some yards, grind out some plays. That 6-minute drive is something that Miami's done a few times this year. And when they're in the position to do it, it's fantastic to watch. But we just need more situations like that. And that's where, man, that thing about this defense, the one consistency across the two seasons so far, because let's just throw 2021 out the window. Yeah, 22 out the window. It's like 23 and 24. The one thing that Miami's defense struggled with last year too was really just the defense complementing an offensive scoring drive.
yeah.
When Miami would, it was almost guaranteed that another would come down and score right back. If we have to force, if we get, punt, if we end up punting, another team ends up getting forced to punt too. So it's almost as if that defense just mirrors whatever happens on the field. I want to see 3-and-outs after Miami scores. When you do
Yeah.
that, that's when the game is getting out of control and Miami can roll.
Yeah, I mean, we had 3 sacks and 6 tackles for a loss. That's where it's funny. The stat line would tell you, it seemed like we had some pressure on Tyler Shuck, but the eye test, I feel like we're still not getting that beginning of the season pressure like we were. It feels like I mean, the great thing is, and I will say this, I do want to compliment our defense. When push comes to shove, when it's time to make a play, they make a play. Simeon
Yeah.
Barrow is, I mean, godsend. I mean, this guy literally was completely absent games 1 through 3, really, and then the last 3 games when competition revved up, he just turned on. He turned it on, and he was great.
This you could probably credit Simeon Barrow's success now to the resurgence of Andrew Bain being back in the game because
Yeah.
now they're focused more on the two ends that the tackles have more freedom to move up. So
Well, that's what we
that's
always figured. We knew when Ruben Bain came back, we knew that it would be impossible for them to double team, Tyler Barron, even Elijah Alston, like when he gets in. And that's the thing. It's like our defense, especially our defensive line, should be pressuring every play. To me,
yeah
I would really, I mean, again, 3 sacks is great. I mean, again, it's not blockbuster in my opinion. It's not where I think where we should be. I would like to see probably 4 or 5 sacks a game with at least almost near to double digit tackles for a loss, only because you have depth, but you have NFL talent there. Like these aren't like, 3 or 4 star guys that are, maybe like third or fourth rounders. These guys will either be first or second round. You know what I mean? Especially when it's their time. I think Tyler Barron for sure. Simeon Barrow for sure, first rounders, 100%, especially if they continue doing what they're doing. But to see like these offensive lines hold them to a certain extent, I'm just like, okay, maybe we need to mix it up a little bit more. Maybe we need to send a little bit more pressure from either a DB. Like that's the other thing. Maybe, I don't know. Like I just felt like last year at this point, Lance Guidry had understood where his team was and was like, okay, I need to make these adjustments. to give us success. And we had that second half resurgence last year where our defense really kept us from being abysmal, which is what we could have been
Yeah.
last year. So I wanted to see that. Let's talk about some really great things though, because there's some really good things that came out of this game. Like I said, all three of our running backs averaged over 5 yards a carry. I think our running back room is shining. Like at the beginning of the year, we were a little like, oh, is it Damian Martinez? Is it Mark Fletcher? Like, who's in it? AJ Allen, stud. Like, where did he come from? And I think, props to Shannon Dawson for coming up with a playbook this week that was just like, I think it was stellar. I couldn't have imagined or drawn up a better play calling scheme because like he knew who to use, and I don't think they were ready for that. I don't think they were ready for the amount of rushers that we had. What did you think of our running back room?
I mean, they're stellar, and what's great about that too is there's still guys waiting in the wings that can come in when you need them too, like Jordan Lyle
Yeah.
and Chris Jones. So there's even more depth in that
Right?
running back that if you need it, look, it's all about matchups, it's all about personnel. If you want to get some more speed on the perimeter, you got another guy to do it. If somebody you can add multiple backs in a set too. So you can really get creative. And what I like about Shannon
Yep.
Dawson is that different, yeah, it's obviously you're game planning to every defense because as Herman Edwards said, you play to win the game.
You
But at the
play
same
to win the game.
coming up with strategies that work for particular personnel matchups. Yes, but at the same time, there's always a new wrinkle. So whatever you saw the week before and you're seeing on film, now there's something else to worry about because where that play used to go to one option, now they're setting it up to go to a different player, or now they add an additional part of the route concept. So where like that Sam Brown touchdown, I keep going back to that play because it was just so pretty, and it
Yep.
was one of those designed. It was Cameron Ward magic, just being around and dancing in the pocket, waiting for someone to come open. So the timing on that, everyone's crashing down on that quick route, and there's the extra move. And because you have such a great offensive line to protect, it's wide open.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how productive our offense was, and not a single target to a tight end. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, we didn't even have to use our tight ends this week. Like that was, and I'm not sure if that's again like if that's just Shannon Dawson kind of like just being this tactician where he's like, this week I'm going to do this, and the next week I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have these things drawn up so no one can really, because like, let me tell you something. Again, I don't. I'm never going to claim to understand the inner workings of a game plan, but I just when you see tight ends being such a factor in the Cal game, and then you see them completely not used, but still having an effective offense. I wonder if like if there is a method and a rhyme and a reason, or was it just like, hey, like they just weren't open, like they covered our tight ends. Like I don't know, but
That's I look more into the film. I think that's more of a Cam Ward decision where
you
it's
think so?
whoever's open.
I
It's
guess
your progression open. So like in some cases, maybe the tight end's the first read on your progression if they're being converged because we know the tight ends are involved a lot in this offense this year.
yeah,
That means everyone else knows too. So if they're crashing down on the tight end, then okay, someone else is going to come open. So for me, it's all about which option is available, and maybe they both come open, and Cam's going to go for the guy that's further downfield. So
yeah.
that's
What did you can we admit that third quarter was probably the greatest third quarter, like absolute cinema. Like I, I, I'm trying to think. Maybe the second half you can compare the Georgia Alabama game, but is there a period of any football game this season that was better than the third quarter?
I mean, the closest one is going to be that Bama Georgia game. But I
Yeah,
mean, it even as a Miami fan, yeah, that third quarter was great because we won that game. But it
yeah,
was miserable to be in there because you come out at the half and think, oh, we're going to pull away in the second half. This is great because we did everything right before
yep,
the half to maximize our possessions, the points that we could score before going into the second half with the ball, take all the time off the third quarter, get that score. Like okay, cool. There's only 5 minutes left in the third quarter. We're up, 21 points. This is great.
yep.
And then Louisville gets the kick return, the turnover, the touchdown, the quick three and out, the touchdown. It's just that's where, yeah, it was entertaining for sure. Look, Miami is must see TV. If you hate Miami, you're going to watch them struggle, and you're going to find all sorts of close games where you think that you might get some enjoyment. And then for Miami fans, it's them just finding ways to pull out of problems that either they put themselves in or their defense put them in.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it down here in my notes. I'm like, listen, this is everyone is treating us like it's the Super Bowl. You know, whether
Yeah,
it's whether it's like the on the field play, fan attendance, even ratings. Like
yeah,
people are watching this, and it's actually really kind of cool. I was like telling Riza, I was like after the game, it was really interesting because you still had Bama and Tennessee, you still had Georgia, Texas, but like by that later that night, my YouTube feed was just like all Louisville stuff. I mean, there was other stuff, don't get me wrong, too. But like in a weekend where you have those two heavyweight bouts going on right after us, and those were the marquee games of the weekend. That's why we were at noon. But if you think about it, I mean, the Bama Tennessee game was very meh. I was like, okay, it's okay. The Georgia the
yeah,
Georgia Texas the Georgia Texas game was good in the sense that like I was like, oh wow, definitely didn't see Georgia doing this, and oh, there's Georgia. There's the Georgia we know. Welcome back, you know. But our game was just like it was just complete fireworks, and I think that's what it's going to be moving forward. I mean, I'm excited to see the FSU game at prime time this year. I think. I mean, for FSU's sake, I'm hoping they come out with a pulse. But I mean, if you
I,
think about it, I think we are getting everyone's best shot. And this isn't just the traditional, like, oh, everyone's going to give you your best shot this week. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm literally like, you could tell Louisville came ready and they were desperate for a win, a big win, too. Like, their program desperately needed this game. They needed this win this week. And sadly, they didn't get it. Sucks to be them. But, like, you could tell, like, they were ready. And, like, it got to a point, and this is like, I'm not sure if you noticed this. At the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, Louisville's down by a touchdown, and their whole team is dancing, like dancing the entire break as if they're up by 3 touchdowns. And to me, the only thing that was running through my mind is I hope Cam Ward, the offense and the defense, are looking over at that sideline and saying, okay, you want to dance? Let's dance. And we're just going to pound it. Sadly, it didn't happen, but we still won. But like, I just found that like so audacious. And I'm like, you're losing by a touchdown going into the
yeah,
fourth quarter, and we have an answer for every haymaker you're throwing at us. Cam Ward, you throw us a haymaker, we got an uppercut. We're Gucci. That's cool. Throw us, give us your best. And they're dancing, and I was just like, okay, we'll see
yeah.
what
It's
happens.
one. I know it's another thing. Just kind of not understand the situation. Like be determined, yeah, but there's dancing in college football has kind of gotten a little out of control now because it's something that Miami started doing.
Yep.
And at one point, when you're like an elite team and you're dancing, it's cool. Your fans could be like, "Oh, watch them get loose. This is great." But you already have 2 losses this year. You're not dancing because you're trying to work yourself up and going. You're dancing because you don't know what else to do.
Yeah, and
And
to me, I'm like, that's the difference between an elite team and a good team. An elite team knows
yeah,
where they're at. They have an awareness to say, no, we're still down by a touchdown, and we want to close this out. And we're at home, and we're at a sold out like stadium. There's no like, and that's when I watched that, and I was like, I hope this is fueling our players. I hope our players are seething. Like, I hope there's like smoke and fire and brimstone coming from their helmets, and they're like, no, not again, not again. It was just like,
like speaking of stadiums, like did you see the Cal game this weekend? They had NC State come home into their backyard. Did you see how empty that stadium was?
no, oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's
Miami.
finally the Hurricanes have come back. That's what it is. Every week, it's like that. Like it's like people want to see us. We are the best show. Like on turf, on grass, whatever you want to call it. That's what we are. And it's
They're the
and
stimulus.
yeah,
They're the stimulus that comes through because you're getting full fans. And by the way, Miami traveled really well to Louisville. It was a
we
whole
did. I
spectacle.
had I had friends there, and they said about 20 to 25% of the crowd was fans.
Yeah, well, there's your sellout right there.
Yeah, and you're
That's
loud. And they were loud apparently. So like my friend was saying, he showed up a little bit late, but when he was walking in, he could hear the crowd like screaming from that first third and out that Louisville had where they went in with their offense. So to me, it's like I think it's great. And that's the thing. Like people talk trash about fans and X, Y, and Z, and I get it. Yes, there are a ton of bandwagoners who went to a Miami-Dade. I still love them because they're my cousins.
Love them.
They're my primos, but I still love them. But it's the truth. Like when we're winning, yeah, we're gonna come out of the dark, and it sucks that like they don't support them, when they're not. But that's a Miami thing. You wouldn't get it, and so I don't blame them, but I do love seeing people coming out. I do love seeing Miami fans showing up and showing out and supporting this team because I think you do. I think we need to, especially this weekend. I think we need to pack the Rock. I think it will be packed. I think
Oh,
needs to get on board with these tickets and just for the love of God, if it's in the 400 level or whatever level that is, the upper deck, whatever they call that, no ticket should be above $35. Just give everyone $35 tickets, make it general admission, and watch how fast that thing gets packed. Because I promise you, people will show up. But people aren't going to pay $100 to sit in the nosebleeds. Okay, just sell them for $35. I promise you, we will be like Nebraska. We will have a sold out game for 30 years straight or whatever they have. But before we sign off, we have to talk about it. We can make it quick. The pass. Let's talk about it. The forward pass / fumble. The
complete
controversy.
pass.
The Danny Cannell special is what I'm calling him now. Whenever someone wants to say, "Oh, the refs are bailing out again," here they are getting a call in their favor. Come on.
My part about all this is that now Lamar Thomas gets to talk smack again. Danny Cannell. He used to do it back in the '90s and he was beating FSU's ass, and now he's doing it again because look, Danny, I kind of like his Twitter feed sometimes. He gets a little whiny, but
He's
he
an FSU fan,
sometimes
bro. It's
well,
in their nature.
of course,
Just like we're supposed to be, like swagged out and overconfident. It's an FSU's like trait to be whiny and complain. That's what they
yeah,
do.
I tweeted it back, and I think it was because it was too late, but really frustrated watching his team play, saying, "Oh, this is really going to hurt my sober October." I said, "Don't worry, watching FSU is great for no because I watched Miami play. It's the total opposite. That first drive of the second half. Oh my God,
Yeah.
the execution. But no. Let's go back to this play. Of course, it's an incomplete pass, and the thing that I
Yes.
thought was so crazy in real time, it was an incomplete pass.
Oh,
Everybody watching it was an incomplete pass. Miami stopped playing because it was such an incomplete pass.
yeah. Joe
So
Tessitore even said it. He's like, everyone's idle. And I'm like, yeah, because it was a forward pass. And even Helen
yeah,
Keller would have saw that. Like Stevie Wonder would have told you that was a forward pass. I'm like, get with the program. And it's like, here's my thing, right? If you are already known for making bad calls, right? And you're already known for being inept, on a play like that, why would you even one ref? Let's just have one ref blow a whistle and say it's down, but then you have other refs go, okay, let the play continue. And then you have them disagree. But to allow it to be a touchdown when you know it's a forward pass, and then to create that controversy, like you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like you were
yeah,
literally shooting yourself in the foot. And I just, again, and I think the worst part is a lot of these calls are happening in the second half. And that's like, if this was a first quarter thing, no one would say anything. No one would say anything. It
yeah,
wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. It would be vapor in the air. But the fact that it's coming in the second half when both teams are in a shootout, they're going back and forth. You have a home team who's desperate for a win, who's got a sold out crowd. I'm just like, okay, guys, like, even like if I'm an ACC ref, like there's got to be a powwow that everyone's got to have going in for the remainder of the season. Like, guys, let's get our ish together. Third and fourth quarter, like let's just get our ish together. First half, we can blow it. We can literally make random calls because no one's gonna remember that and no one's gonna care. But these second half late calls that are technically they're game shifters, if you want to call that. I mean, that would have tied the game up. That if it was an actual fumble, it would have tied the game up. Who knows what would have ensued afterwards? My feeling is this: give them the touchdown, we still would have won. And someone could have said, "Oh, but
absolutely.
we only lost by a touchdown, so it would have ended. It would have ended in a tie, and we would have gone to overtime. Who knows?" No, no, no. Now you're getting delusional. Now you just need to please put down the drugs. We would have easily scored, and we would have easily won that game still, just the way we did, as opposed to just. I think it honestly would have even been the same exact score, more or less, winning by a touchdown. Which, by the way, I called. Not trying to brag, but I did say we would win by a touchdown. Um, but that last drive with the defense, I almost felt like the defense kind of surrendered that last touchdown. So it's really like we technically did beat them by 2 touchdowns because the defense was just like, hey, go ahead, run your offense and run the clock down, and then we'll get the ball back with a minute and a couple seconds, and then we'll just take a couple of these and peace out.
And that onside kick that Louisville attempted. We need to shout somebody out because, and when I say shout them out, I don't mean in a positive way. I mean we have to like shine light on this because every time I look, this has been my theme all year. Every time an athletic department employee for a school makes an epic mistake in soccer, they call it like a howler when the goalie makes such a mistake that it's an own goal. This is an own goal.
Oh yeah,
where
that was
side. And what do you hear playing in the stadium?
Rock
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Like, what and what like scouting report is that song even in your playlist when Miami comes to town? Granted, it's not like our anthem, but hey, I love Scorpions as much as the next guy.
It is kind of our. It's kind of our song.
It's one of them, Trick Daddy, Two Live Crew. We have so many anthems.
If you grew up in the 80s, you went to games in the 80s and the early 90s, and even when we went to school there, because I remember in the Orange Bowl hearing that every like third down or whatever it was, they would always play "Rock You Like a Hurricane." Like it wasn't until we went to Hard Rock that we stopped playing that, which I get it because it's a little out of touch for late millennials and Gen Z, but like that's literally our song. I'm sorry, and it's like. It doesn't make sense. But the onside kick, we do have to talk about it because I'm just like, how do you allow it to get to Xavier Restrepo? That's my thing. Like, out of everyone you're going to kick it to, like, kick it to the fattest, most like frumpy looking guy that's out there. And I understand like we had our hands team out there, so there's no one that's frumpy looking out there. But like Restrepo, out of anyone you're going to kick it to, like the guy with the best, to the point to where here's the best part about that. Like, we started putting Restrepo in punt returns because that's we were so we wanted to make sure our special teams were tight, which kickoff and kick return were not. We put Restrepo in there, so it's like, why? He's on special teams for this game. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that kick was supposed to have a bounce in it at some point in time. It was supposed to go probably like 7-8 yards, have a high hop. Oblong shaped ball doesn't always bounce the way that it does, but I think the attempt was so botched just from the song alone. It's like, hey, when you let fans from other schools pay to run out with your team on the sideline, you're already destined to lose. Happened to USC, Louisville. This is what it is. USC lost again this past week to Maryland. So listen, yeah, it's insane. And maybe he didn't recognize that Restrepo was wearing a different jersey. Because it was another number 7 on the field.
Yeah, he was wearing like that 38 or whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know how you allow it to get to him. I don't know how you allowed to, like, I'm just like, that was really bad. Really. But I get it. It's an onside kick. It's a coin toss, literally. Maybe less. You have less odds of getting it. But anything else we missed, Rudy, before I let you go?
About the game. I mean, Michael Irvin was there.
That's
so glad
true.
He's coming to all the games. And George Echeverria got the game ball.
I did. I love that. I love watching Joe get that. I thought that was a great little thing that Mario did in the locker room. I know I can't think of anything else. I'm beyond excited. It's hate week. It's rivalry week. We play the Knowles. I hate that school with every ounce of my being. I can say that, I got jumped by 9 FSU fans in 2010. So there's a special level of hate for FSU. And so we're going to have a breakdown for that later on this week. Stay tuned. Rudy, anything we want to say going into FSU week? Anything you want to leave us with?
Bring your solo cups.
Yeah, don't make any bets, FSU fans, okay? Like, seriously, just stop. Just like oh my God, like this, like, someone take their beers away like they need to just like literally remove all alcohol and all sorts of like drug paraphernalia out of Tallahassee because these people have lost their mind. I mean, I was watching Locked On Seminoles today just because I like to Well,
Yeah,
I'm toxic.
Brian's
I'm toxic like that. Also, I'm like, I just want to know how bad they feel. How bad do you guys feel? And like there
Brian's
were
been
like some people who were like, we're gonna beat FSU, we're gonna beat UAM, we're gonna come out there and have them like. And then Brian was literally like, whatever drugs you're doing, just please stop because there's no parallel universe where FSU beats Miami, and we're not. So lock in for this week, guys. We will see you guys later on this week to talk more about the FSU game, everything that's happening around college football. And until then, be good, y'all. We'll see you later. It's all about the U, baby. We love you guys. Be good.